Greg Holden, welcome to eTown. Glad you could come.
Thank you.
You sound
Thanks
great. You're such a good singer.
Oh, thank you.
So Aberdeen, Lancashire, up north, that's kind of like Manchester and Liverpool and Leeds and all those
that
places,
area,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are there so many great singers that come from there? I don't understand it.
It's so sad up there. It's so horrible that you can't help but want to express your anger towards where you came from.
Wow. It may be worth it. If I could sing like that, I would think it may be worth it. Maybe not, but might be. When you were growing up, was there a favorite song or a favorite band or a way that you got to sort of imagine yourself following this path?
Well, I grew up listening to Wham and Rod Stewart. I can thank my mother for that one. But I was quite late to the game in terms of creating music. I started playing guitar when I was 18 years old because I saw a friend doing it in a bar one night, and I was searching for something. I definitely was this kid that didn't really know what he wanted to do, and I remember this night very vividly. He was playing guitar, and there was all these girls watching. But there was all these guys watching too, because he was singing his own songs, and I remember being like, I need him to teach me to do that. So he did. He taught me a few chords, and I found that music was a way for me to really get out my emotions that I've been holding in my whole life. So I was working at McDonald's, and of course that creates a lot of anger. And I remember one of the managers at McDonald's coming up to me and saying, "Oh, you play guitar, you might like these albums," and it was 4 Bob Dylan records. So I went home and I turned them on, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's the American dream, it turns out, actually.
Working at McDonald's?
No, listening to Bob Dylan records.
All right, okay.
Getting a guy from McDonald's to hand you Bob Dylan records, that sounds pretty poetic. So did you start writing songs right away?
Immediately.
Yeah. Was the first one any good?
Probably terrible.
Yeah. But it was enough to give you some hope and
it was something that I really enjoyed doing because I was sort of scared of my parents growing up, and I was bullied a lot at school, so I didn't really have any way to verbalize what I was storing inside except with songs. So it was very easy for me to kind of tap into that.
Yeah. And then after college, you moved to London. You're sort of exploring ways of building an audience. You started out, I guess, online, right? Just building some
YouTube
fans.
videos.
YouTube videos. And that grew. Was I right about the living room, Not My Living Room tour?
Yeah, I made a living room series, and then I made a Not My Living Room series. And they started to get some small attention, not like today where you see people have like billions of views. And I'm like, why didn't that work for me? But I sort of used the geotagging on YouTube to figure out where people were. So I booked a little tour where all the markets were the most popular. And I ended up in Germany and a lot in Holland and all over the UK, just doing this living room tours, and it worked pretty well.
Wow, it's amazing.
The internet's a crazy thing. I love and hate it,
So then I just want to ask you about this Dave Eggers. So he was a guy who was here on our show early on. He's a great writer
he's an amazing writer.
Amazing writer. We gave him an award because he had a literacy training program in the back of his shop in San Francisco, and the store itself was a pirate shop.
Yeah, I know about it.
Yeah.
827, right? Yeah. 827 Valencia?
That's right.
Yeah, we have one in Brooklyn now in my neighborhood. It's a superhero supply store as well. It's the same thing.
But Dave Eggers wrote a book, What is the What? Mm-hmm. You read it. It was profound.
It had a huge impact on me. I'd never read a book before and put it down and just burst into tears. That's never happened before, but it did with that book. And I remember feeling so helpless because I was this broke musician, and I was like, how can I not do more? And the only thing I really could do was write a song. So that week, I wrote a song called The Lost Boy. I recorded it in my bedroom. I was actually woken up in the middle of my sleep by the idea of this song, which sounds really cheesy saying it out loud, but it's true. I just woke up and it was bothering me, and I wrote it in my phone. The next day, I went and recorded it in my bedroom and sent it to a DJ that I knew in Holland who worked for the Red Cross the day that I wrote it. And within a week, through whatever bizarre universe thing, it was a #1 single in Holland.
Yeah.
This bedroom demo that I made, and it raised $50,000 for the Red Cross. And I remember having this weird full circle moment when last year I was sitting at a dinner table with Dave Eggers and the guy that I wrote the song about, Valentino Ejekdang. And he was talking to me about my song that I wrote about him. And Dave Eggers was, and there's this whole triangle, and I was like, what is happening? How is this real? And it was real, and it made me realize that through music, you really can do a lot of positive things, and it was a really huge turning point for me, actually.
It's amazing because, we hear about the old days like Sun Studios where Jerry Lee Lewis, wanders in the studio and is just fooling around, and next thing you know, it's Great Balls of Fire, and then 3 days later it's on the radio and it's #1 hit. And we think about those days, as being, well, that was a long time ago.
Those days are almost more likely now with the power of the internet.
Yeah, it was just the gap when I was starting where that didn't exist. So it's interesting too, because you're, as a young performer, you're ambitious. You are can't help but be self-promotional. You're talking about yourself in some way to radio programs and stuff like that. But to be inspired to use your craft and your talent on behalf of a community that's in need was profound. I know you did it again with another song for an organization called Everyone is Gay. Mm-hmm. You contributed a song to a compilation for that as well.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
My friends run this organization called Everyone is Gay, and every year they put together this compilation album to kind of raise money to help them keep doing what they're doing, which is going around schools and going and talking to kids to kind of give them advice and the parents' advice. And it's a really amazing thing that they do, but they can't sustain themselves. So they have this this compilation record. So right before I went in to make my new album, I realized that I hadn't written the song yet. And it was the day of that I was supposed to turn it in. And I was like, oh no, I haven't done this song yet. So I sat down in my studio and it just came out of me, really.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really interesting moment. And I'm really glad I wrote the song because it sort of has changed my life as well in many ways. And
like what? How?
Well, because of that song, that's how I got recognized by my record company, and that's how I signed my deal with Warner Brothers. Really, was that was the song that kind of got everyone's attention. And, in many ways, it was another moment in my career or life where I knew that through the power of a song, I could affect people.
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing to realize, I think. So,
It's amazing also these sort of serendipitous moments where you have this flash of inspiration, this moment of creativity, that you make this thing and it happens sort of in real time, instantly. I don't think it was exactly like that, but another song that was profound, I'm sure, was the one, the American Idol song that you co-wrote, that Philip Phillips sang and was the winner. That must have changed your life in some way too.
It did, in a massive way. I mean, it sold 5 million copies. It was something that was so abstract in my world that I just kind of stood from behind the scenes and was like, oh my God, what is happening again? No, that was amazing, and I wrote that song from my heart. It wasn't some meaningless thing that ended up being a huge pop song. It was something that was very close to me, and the message was very important. And thankfully, that the responses from people has been the same.
Yeah, I read in the what was it, the Lancashire, Post or something like that. They were just on and on about how proud they were about you, and they told where you grew up and where you went to school, and our boy's done good.
Yeah, they're the same ones that beat the crap out of me in high school. So.
Oh shit. There's no. I guess that's justice. Maybe not. I want to ask you about that subtle line between a heartfelt song and a pop song that may be more constructed. There's a thing that a song you played earlier that you did an acoustic version of called "Hold On Tight." On your record, there's an approach that, to my ear, seems reminiscent of Mumford & Sons, and I wonder if there's like a Mumfordish red light in the studio that goes on when it's like, whoa, we can't go that far, it's too Mumfordish.
That's funny, I love Mumford & Sons. I think they're such a great band. But they didn't invent that form of music.
No.
I'm a huge fan of like Flogging Molly and the Pogues, all those Irish folk bands.
Yeah.
And I remember when Home came out and there was all this thing. It was like, Mumford & Sons, you wrote a Mumford & Sons song. I'm like, no, I didn't.
Right.
It's just that Mumford & Sons happened to be like a huge band at the time. And that happens a lot of the time is people's minds are so small sometimes that they think, oh, that's just this. This is this one genre, and that's all it can be. And of course, my song's got this kick drum in it. It's like, all right, it's Mumford & Sons, but it's not really.
It lived before they did.
Yeah, well, it did. That song particularly didn't, but
But
that song is a total Mumford & Sons ripoff. But the other one, I was really trying on that one.
Sell out! What a sellout! No, it's tricky. I mean, I think it's just like, all these, every song's been played before, every chord progression's been played before. And so to find that thing that's yours and to make it distinct and new.
I think the trick is to just do something honest, something that means something to
absolutely.
you. And, you can't think of an original chord progression anymore. There's been, 60 years of popular music and chords, and it's always the same 4 chords. It's just, in a slightly different order or in a slightly different key, but it's the same thing, really. And it's more about what you say, I think.
Exactly. And I think, again, you've been able to, through your own pain and your own experience and your own evolution, you've been able to find ways to express yourself in ways that are absolutely heartfelt, that are absolutely real. And it feels like that. So I think you're onto it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's get back to music. Welcome back, Greg Holden. Hi, this is Nick Forster from eTown. If you want to stay up to date with all the performances, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage, click the subscribe button. Thanks.